I'm probably more hit and run type of guy. A counter fighter, I would say. But when I say counter fighter, I don't mean that I sit on the back foot, but I like to kind of like goad people to throw a shot, which will give me my opening to counter. It might not be, going to war, but for me, it's quite a sustainable career because I can fight a very clever way. I sometimes think, I'm going to go to war on certain fights, and I'm going to take it to him. But when I find that actually I don't have to make it difficult for myself, then I just try and play smart and win by playing the points and winning the judges over.
I'm sure that you've heard people describe you as slick and a very creative fighter. Where would you say that your creativity comes from?
I would say that I've had a massive turning point that has contributed towards that when I trained with the Sujapol twins in Hua Hin. The renowned gym in Thailand. Very, very tricky guys, but a lot of the tricks and a lot of my style is based on their kind of style.
A lot of your fights, or many of your fights, have gone to decision. Do you think this perhaps says something about your appetite for risk, or perhaps you're slightly risk averse in the way that you approach fights?
Yeah, I have thought this a few times. Like earlier on in my career, I've had a few knockouts. But I don't know, maybe I was just young and egotistic and full of pride, and I just wanted to go in there and smash somebody's head in. But as I've matured in my career and become smarter and better, and I found that I became more efficient, and I played a more clever game, and I found that I could win without getting injured, if you like, and without taking necessary risks.
It almost sounds like a contradiction there, because as you win more, you'd have thought your ego would get bigger and bigger and bigger. How did you manage to keep a check on your ego?
My coaches. Probably my coaches. Yeah, the coaches keep my head from going into the clouds. As you know, like with the losses, you learn a lot more. It humbles you quick, but a while back, when I was fighting under Liam Robinson, under the Super Patch team, I had a 22 win streak under him, and it was really cool because he was a very good coach. He was very, very good at giving the right advice at the right time in the ring, and kind of extracting out of you what you needed to get out of the fight, even when it was a difficult fight. Like there were times when I was thinking, I don't think I'm going to be able to win this fight, and he'd say the right things to get you, and the right tactics to win the fight. After that, it was kind of like he passed away, and then it was kind of on and on with my wins. So I've been I've tried a few gyms and stuff. Since he passed, there was loads of fighters. We were like one of the best teams probably in the UK. So there was guys like Dan McGowan, Macaulay Coyle, Conor McCormack, Ben Lucas, Ricky Sewell, Sam Tahiro. I can keep going on and on. We were all ranked like top 3, top 4 fighters in the UK, and there was about maybe 10 or 12 of us. So as you can imagine, training was hard. If you weren't up for it, you were getting thrown all over the place. It was hard, but it was fun. We always had a laugh, but we always worked hard. After that, it was very difficult to kind of like decide. To be fair, I didn't know whether I wanted to fight anymore. So then I carried on training, and then I trained with Tony Myers for a couple of camps. Then I kept on going to Thailand, and then I trained with John Pop for my last fight with Chris Shaw. But yeah, there's been a lot of like trial and error for me, but never settled down. And with me being older, I just find that it's very difficult for me to kind of start anew in a new gym and then kind of build my career on there. I need to settle down and focus this next year or two, so that I can be as effective and win as many fights as possible. I've decided that I'm going to stick to training from home at all powers. I'm going to. I've got my padman Ricky Sewell, And that's pretty much it. I think between us, we've got enough experience to take me till the end of my career.
There's two fights that I want to focus on. The first one, as you mentioned, being the Chris Shaw fight at Knockout 49, and then more recently, the last Super Showdown against Carlos Araya.
Yeah.
If we can take a look at the Chris Shaw fight first, what are your reflections on that fight?
The first thing that comes to mind is always is that I rushed. And I can make all kinds of excuses. Fair play to Chris Shaw, he did what he needed to do to win the fight. He knew that he was never going to win it technically against me. What I believe is that I got so used to fighting 3-3s on one championship that I was kind of fighting at a fast pace all the time. And I hadn't fought 5-3s for a while with the 2-minute rest, because before that I was fighting MMA. I did MMA for a year. So everything was kind of fast paced, a minute rest. So I'd kind of like almost kind of lost that timing and the fluidity of a 5-3 minute round fight. So when I came back to it, I think I just fought like as if I was fighting a 3-minute fight, 3-round fight. And then I just burned myself out really quick. To be honest, I came into the fight overconfident. Like I would, I believed, that, and I was overconfident I was going to win the fight. So, and I think that's what kind of clouded my judgment as well and gave me that false sense of security. And like I said, that loss, humbled me. It kicked me in the ass and, brought me back down to earth. It's helped me. Like what I did for Chris Shaw the second time we fought, he probably had some real decisions to make after that, after that bad loss for him. He helped me, and he changed gyms and he'd become 10 times better than what he was, and he probably helped me do the same. He returned the favor. But yeah, like I say, there's no regrets. I've learned a lesson. It was a hard lesson, but I believe that if there was another fight, I don't think that would happen again. Yeah.
So let's fast forward to Super Showdown, and coming off the back of a defeat which many people saw as a surprise, you were overconfident, now coming into Super Showdown and putting on a performance which many, just look at the YouTube comments, people calling it a masterclass. How were you able to brush off from that and just go and perform in that way?
I know that following the fight with Chris Shaw, for me, it was just a massive mistake. I just did a mistake and that was it. And I think mainly just the mental side of it, I think I was just, like I said, overconfident. So, not disrespecting Carlos Araya or anything like that, but coming into that fight, he just had nothing on me. I was hell bent on kind of like using him as an example to kind of like brush off the last fight. I used him as that. He was that kind of he was the punch bag for that for that last performance. So yeah, there was just nothing. I was just dead set. Like I was not smiling for that fight. I wasn't having a fun time like I normally do. I was in there to prove a point. And that was it. Yeah.
How did you feel afterwards?
I felt okay. If anything, I was having a conversation with a mind coach, Caleb, and he was saying that because I wasn't really celebrating that victory, because still like letting the Chris Shaw fight cloud over me, and I was looking ahead instead of like just being in the moment kind of thing. But yeah, no, I'm happy about the win. I'm happy though. I mean, like I said, there was no other way. There was no way I was going to lose that fight, and I know I'm 10 times better than that last performance with Chris Shaw, and I do believe that I can stop people, and that's what I wanted to show, and I know we mentioned it earlier on how I generally go to points, but the truth is I'm coming towards the end of my career, and I don't want to just be a hit and run kind of guy. I'll be like nice and smooth and everything, but I want to start hurting people. I want to finish on a high.
On a recent social media post, I saw you write stoic in body and stoic in mind. Can you elaborate what that means?
Yeah. So in Thai boxing for me, but with anything, for me, like I'm a coach, I'm a fighter, a professional fighter. A lot of people look up to me, and I come across with that stoic appearance. But it's just having that stoic appearance is enough. I need to have that stoic mind as well, so not that I hide my emotions, or I don't think people should recognize them, and I just feel that people who moan, we come from a generation now where it's almost acceptable to kind of be very easily I want to use the right words without kind of like pissing people off, because we have got a lot of princesses nowadays, but that's it, like we've got a lot of weak-minded people nowadays, and like I said, it's not wrong to express our emotions and talk about them. That's very important, but if we all do that, then who do we look up to? Who do we speak to? Who do we follow as an example? If the big great guys, the tough guys who everybody look up to, are always moaning and crying about things, and I'm not saying I'm like that all the time, yeah, but that's what I mean by being stoic in mind and in body. It's not enough. The physical part is the easy part. Training, like I always say, that's the easiest part. The hardest part is being disciplined and getting it done, even on your worst days mentally,
I guess that leads into where I'm going, and that's motivation. Mm-hmm. You mentioned that you're towards the end of your career. Where do you still get that drive from? Where do you still get the motivation?
I just love what I do. I mean, I really genuinely love what I do. Like, I think at some point, because I've been doing this such a long time, I started since I was 16, and at some point in between, I'd lost that love, and I think I was just kind of like just going through the motions, and again, going back to the Chris Shaw fight, that's made me come to some realizations about certain things, and it enforced that love for the sport, enforced that that I wanted it more, it made me hungrier, and it brought that hunger back. And I think it's easy to lose that spark as time goes by, because we do this day in, day out. But yeah, no, my motivation, I mean, there's so many variables for motivation. Do you know what I mean? I could wake up one day and I feel like shit, or I've had some takeaway or whatever, or I've had an argument with somebody. Too many variations, but I'm disciplined. I think that's the biggest thing for me, is the discipline. Setting my intentions before I go to bed, setting my intentions as soon as I wake up, and then getting on with it. Not forgetting my intentions. But yeah, discipline is above all. Before. Yeah, motivation is great, because I'll be motivated when I look in the mirror and I can see I've got a six-pack and everything, and great, or I sweep one of the bigger guys in the gym, or what, that's motivation. That's nice, and it's a feel good, but it's only temporary. We always have things that we want to do, and we always think, oh yeah, I'll do that tomorrow or whatever, but it's very easy to get distracted by our everyday lives and people and stuff, and phone calls and social media and everything, that you forget what you wanted to do the day before. But as I use a mind coach, which is it's helped me massively, and but yeah, I set my intentions from the night before about what I want to do before I go to bed. I set my intentions that I'm going to go to sleep well. I'm going to get a good rest. I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to do my training session. I'm going to teach my classes, whatever. And then I'll wake up, and as soon as I wake up and I'm kind of conscious, I'll set my intention again what I'm going to do for the day, and that's me. I'm off. That's what I do.
Who inspired you as a young boy in Cyprus?
My role models and my inspirations, whenever I sit down and really have to think about it, will be my parents. It's always my parents. Hard-working, middle-class people. My come from very poor backgrounds. My mother's from the Philippines, so she's always been a cleaner. My dad's always washed cars and driven lorries and stuff. I can't say that we were poor, but there were Christmases where we didn't have presents, but there was always food on the table. We always had clothes to wear, so they're my role models. If it wasn't for them to teach me work ethic, I don't think I'd be here, because I don't think I'm not the most academically intelligent person, but I know through hard work I can achieve anything, and that's what they've taught me in life.
Are there any principles other than hard work that you apply to your life today that you think that comes from our parents?
Yeah, hard work. I mean, cleaning, hard work. Keeping, keeping the, one of the big things for me is keeping my gym clean. It's an environment where it gets very easily dirty, and you got a lot of sweaty guys and stuff. So mopping the mats, cleaning the equipment, it's a big thing for me. And I think when you can do the most basic thing, the most basic fundamental, it's so much better for you mentally. So you can focus on other things that really matter.
Can you talk to me about coming over to England from Cyprus?
I came over when I was 19 on a one-way ticket with £60 in my pocket and absolutely no idea what I was going to do. I'd met my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, through a seminar at Master Skens here in the UK, and then she'd come over to Cyprus, and then I came over for the summer, and then I ended up getting a valeting job like 2 days later, because I'd come over, like I said, with only 60 quid and a one-way ticket, and I had no idea what I was going to do. Just love in my heart. I just ended up staying. I just decided that was it. I was in love with her, and that was it. I was staying. Worked valeting for a bit, then I did some call center work, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever done, considering I've worked as a laborer, waiter, all sorts, and that was the hardest thing. Mentally it was hard, sitting in an office doing that day in, day out. But it gave me the kick that I needed to get up and pursue this teaching and fighting full time.
Can you talk to me about setting up the gym? Yeah,
so when I came over to the UK, I started the gym called Stoicism Thai Fighters, and that was run by a guy called Paul Tite. He owned his own restaurant, and he had a gym, but the gym he kind of had more for himself and as a kind of hobby. So he wasn't really bothered about having loads of students. He was just happy to have fighters. He was one of those types of coaches that it was all or nothing kind of thing. Sparring with no shin pads on, and if you were moaning about an injury, then it was like you were getting grilled for that. So he was getting ready to retire, and he was saying leave your work and take over the gym. But it was in a little dingy little basement that used to flood really badly, and so getting ringworms and all sorts of stuff in there, it was quite bad. And there was only maybe like 10-15 students in there, if that, and that was only running maybe 4 days a week, 5 days a week, I think maybe 3 days a week, and then the fighters trained every day. So it was hardly enough to make a living off it. I mean, he was making his living from his restaurant, and then the gym kind of paid for itself. So I had right, let me get this, like, I've got to get the timelines right. So he's been mothering me to leave my job to do it, and I was like, yeah, I'd like to, but I've got a mortgage and etc. So I didn't want to leave because of the security, the financial security. Now, it was in 2010. I proposed to my wife the year before. and we were getting married. We were getting married on a Friday, which we decided on a Friday because it was £400 cheaper because we were paying for our own wedding. So we were getting married on a Friday. Saturday we were flying to Barcelona, and then get back on Monday. So a very short honeymoon, and then back to work. So I'd gone to my manager at the time, and I'd asked him for the Friday and the Monday off, and the Thursday and the Friday and the Monday off. And he was like this on the phone, on his computer. And as I asked him, he was like this, fully booked. And obviously my blood boiled and stuff, and I leant over and I said some things in his ear and blah blah. And then the next day I that evening I spoke to my wife and to my coach, and I decided to give in my resignation. And it was hard. It was really hard. 2-3 years. I mean, some weeks I was making 50 quid. So my wife was carrying us for a while. But yeah, when I think, I mean, now we're up to like 120 plus members. We've got 4 people teaching out the gym as well as me. So I've got a great network of people around me helping me. But when I think back to my manager, who was horrible to me, he wasn't a very nice person, but I'm forever grateful to him because, shout out to him, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And I always say, we shouldn't always just give, credit to the people who do good stuff for us. It's people who do bad for us as well. We need them. Otherwise, how do we grow?
So how do you look back on those struggles now?
Sometimes I feel that I've become lazy in comfort, because I've had those challenges and I've had to work really hard, and there were times where it was very stressful and I've lost sleep, and I've built myself something great, and sometimes I do feel that I've become very comfortable in life, and that's why sometimes we need to get our ass kicked off somebody else, to remember that, there's never a time to rest. You've got to, work hard, and I love the challenge, and it's great. I mean, like I said, built a great gym here. In my opinion, we're probably one of the best gyms in the Northwest, but I just love the challenge, the challenge of building something. The reward is great, but I think doing it is even more fun. Yeah.
Talk to me about being a coach.
So being a coach, the first thing that comes to mind sometimes is it's stressful. Depends what I'm teaching, really, I suppose. But fighters stress me out, but I love doing it because I'm a perfectionist. Like I always say to my fighters, if you can't handle the shouting and me being strict with you, then just go back to doing the normal classes and don't fight, because for me they're representing all powers. They're representing me, they're a reflection of me and what I teach, so I want them on tip-top shape when they're out there. I love teaching the classes, I love doing privates, I love teaching people who have already done something, as in Thai boxing, who've already been training in Thai boxing, and they come to me for the first time, and I love kind of like making little tiny adjustments, and making them a bit faster, a bit stronger. Those are I love that, and sometimes I know that people might not stay with me forever, but if I can give them something to take away and they've got it for life, then I'm happy. I've done my bit. Being a coach, we change lives. We're in the business of changing lives, like I say, it's stressful, but it's very rewarding at the same time. So yeah, I wouldn't change it for the world. I may retire from fighting, but I don't think I'll retire from teaching for a very, very long time. And I'll probably be one of those guys with a walking stick and stuff, sitting on the ring and shouting, But yeah, I don't think I'd ever stop teaching. I love it too much. Yeah.
This would be good advice for anyone starting out their Muay Thai journeys.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes a good student?
Like I say, hard work is my number one thing. Hard work, being disciplined, and just being open to learning. And the main thing is when you, however much your coach is getting on your nerves or is stressful or whatever, don't answer back. Nod your head and say yes sir, and that's it. The worst thing to do is answer back. If you answer back, then chances are you're probably not going to get much attention after that, you know. But you just keep your head down, get working, you know. There's no shortcuts to success, you know. You've got to get through getting winded. You got to get through getting bruised up. You got to do it all, and you've got to listen and be willing to get up on the days that you don't want to get up and work, you know. Yeah.
So that's from the teacher-student relationship. What makes a good training partner?
Ooh, a good training partner. A good training partner, I would say for me, if I'm training with somebody, obviously a good relationship, being someone that you like, but also somebody who pushes you. This is something that I tell my students off a lot, my fighters, for not pushing each other, because they're being too nice, because they know each other. And I say to them, if you don't push them, if you don't throw the technique properly, if you miss if I tell you to throw a cross and you slip, for example, and you're throwing the cross over there when their head's over here, you're not doing them a favor. You're creating a false sense of security. So if anything, if they get knocked out, it's your fault. So that's why I say, you know, yeah, we want to, you know, when I'll be friends and everything and great, but when it's time to train, it's time to train, you know, because if my training partner doesn't push me, then who is? And my fight's going to be a lot more difficult than what I would like it to be, you know. And maybe if I had a partner that was pushing me like Chris Shaw was beforehand, maybe I would have dealt with it differently, you know. But yeah, but that's why I say, you know, when you're training, it's time to train, you know. Yeah.
We spoke about inspiration to you as a child, but who or what would you credit your success to in your career?
There is no one person. There is so here. This is one thing, like as I've said before, where when you work hard and you keep discipline and you're doing what you're doing, that hard work, it will never go unrecognized. You know, somebody will pick up on it. And what I mean by that is, if I see somebody struggling because I'm in a better position than them, I'll help them as much as I can. And that's happened a lot for me. You know. Whether it's a coach, whether it's my wife, whether it's a friend. I've had a friend who's helped me build my gym by teaching me business. You know, that's massive. You know, and which has given me the financial freedom to be able to train more. And you know, so yeah, there isn't one person that I could pinpoint it on, but there's all the people around me, from all the people that have impacted me in a positive way to the people that have impacted me in a negative way. I'm just grateful for everything and everyone. You know, yeah. What's your mission? My mission. My mission is just to keep doing what I'm doing. You know, I'm doing what I love, and as a result, I'm keeping healthy. I'm keeping mentally healthy. I'm helping change people's lives, and I'm doing something good. You know, for the people around me. You know, who want to come and train. But also, I have a good platform of which I could, you know, promote things, as in like to help others who are less fortunate. You know, but yeah, yeah, to say mission, not really, but just keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Final question is, how do you think you'll be remembered as a fighter?
As a fighter? I think as a yeah, it's hard to say that by myself. I think it's just as a very technical fighter. Technical, like you said, smooth, slick, mainly because I've heard those words a lot when in commentators and comments. But yeah, I think I am a very tricky opponent. I get that. I make good opponents look very average, and that's because I've got a pretty decent fight IQ. So I believe that's how I'll be remembered, as a clever, you know, technical fighter.